Have you ever looked around at your own life and felt nothing? Not sadness, not joy, just a hollow sense that something is missing, even when nothing is wrong. That feeling is real, and it's quietly exhausting. The Buddha saw it clearly 2,500 years ago. This ache of standing inside your own life and somehow feeling absent from it. Today's teaching speaks directly to that emptiness, because the life you keep waiting to feel grateful for, it's already here. One afternoon, in a forest in northern India, a monk sat alone beneath the trees. Filtered light drifted through the canopy. A bird called in the distance. The wind moved quietly through the grass. And yet, in the middle of all that stillness, the monk couldn't move. His mind was a storm. Is the world eternal, or does it end? Where does the soul go after death? Does the universe have a boundary, or does it go on forever? Each question pulled the next one in, and that one pulled another, and on it went. This man was a student of the Buddha. His name was Buddha. For a long time he had carried something in his chest, a quiet frustration growing heavier by the day. He had asked these questions again and again, and again his teacher had offered only silence. Today, he decided, would be different. Today, he would get his answers. He stood up and walked toward his teacher. When he arrived, the Buddha was seated beneath a great tree, his eyes soft, his hands resting open in his lap, completely at ease, as if the questions Buddha carried weighed nothing at all. A few other monks sat nearby, mending their robes. Someone was straining water through cloth. The morning had the feeling of an ordinary day. Buddha stood at the edge of the clearing for a moment, watching. A part of him almost turned back. But the weight in his chest kept his feet moving forward, and before long, he was standing directly before his teacher, his shadow falling across the ground between them. The Buddha was sitting in the shade of a tree, not with his eyes closed in meditation, but simply present, the way a mountain is present. Just there. Buddha knelt before him. "Teacher," he said, "I have been patient, I have waited, but you have never answered my questions. Today, I need you to answer them clearly." The Buddha looked at his student without judgment, just a quiet, steady gaze. "What do you want to know?" The monk had prepared for this moment. The words came out in a rush. Is the world eternal, or does it have an end? After death, does the soul live on? What is the nature of existence? What is the universe made of? There was something raw in his voice, years of holding it in. "If you won't answer these questions, I will leave. I will stop practicing. I will walk away." The forest went a little quieter. The Buddha did not respond right away. The wind moved, a branch shifted. Then, gently, he spoke. "Before I answer anything, may I ask you something?" "Of course." "Did I ever say to you, 'Come and practice with me, and I will answer all your questions about the universe'?" The monk was silent. "No." "What brought you to me in the first place?" Buddha had no answer. The Buddha continued, his voice unhurried. "Imagine a man who has been struck by a poisoned arrow. His family rushes to him. They want to pull it out, but he stops them. 'Wait,' he says. 'First tell me who shot this arrow. What family does he come from? Is he tall or short? What is the arrow made of? What kind of bird were the feathers taken from? How powerful was the bow?' The monk listened. 'What do you think would happen to that man?' A pause. 'He would die,' before he ever got his answers. "Yes," said the Buddha quietly. "While you have been searching for the edge of the universe, your life has been continuing. There is pain in it, there is aging, there are meetings and partings, and one day it will end." Buddha said nothing. "What I teach is not where the universe begins or ends. I teach this. What is suffering? Where does it come from? And how do we live, even while carrying it? That is all." The wind passed through the trees once more. You don't need to know the boundaries of the cosmos to know how to live today. You don't need proof of an afterlife to be kind to someone right now. The answers may never come, and still, this life is moving, right here, right now. Something shifted in the monk's chest. It wasn't anger that surfaced, It was something older than anger, an exhaustion from years of searching, slowly beginning to soften. The arrow is already in you, the Buddha said, and it can be removed, right now. Isn't that enough? Malankya sat for a long time, in the presence of those words. He did not say yes, he did not say no, he simply stayed, and somehow, that was the first honest thing he had done in years. They were still there, the way an old scar is still there, but no longer the thing you reach for first when you wake in the morning. This story, the parable of the poisoned arrow, is not simply saying, stop wasting time on useless questions. The cut goes much deeper than that. Why was Malankya suffering? On the surface it looks like he was suffering because his questions went unanswered. But stop for a moment and think. What would actually change if he knew where the universe ended? If he had proof of what happens after death, would today's pain disappear? Probably not. And here's where Buddhism names something very precise. The suffering isn't caused by the absence of answers. It comes from the belief that without answers, life cannot be fully lived. I can't move forward until I know why. I can't receive what I have until I understand where it came from. These hidden conditions, the ones we set for ourselves, are the source of a very particular kind of pain. The obsession with finding certainty before living is what keeps us from living, and that obsession blinds us to what is already here. This is what Buddhism calls the cause of suffering, not suffering itself but the weight we pile on top of it. The first arrow is unavoidable. Aging, loss, illness, grief, these come to everyone. But the second arrow, we fire that one ourselves. Every time we say, I cannot accept this until I understand it, we drive it deeper in. And there is something else in this story, something that reaches even further. We say my life, we say my existence, as if this life were something we chose, something that belonged to us from the very beginning. But did you choose to be born? Did you select this era, this place, this body? You didn't. Life was given to you. Before you had any say in the matter, it was already arriving, carried here through parents and their parents before them, through an uncountable web of connections and chances. The sense of I came later, as a kind of afterthought. The belonging came first, the self followed. So what then is my life? Perhaps this life that you gripped so tightly as your own was always at its root a gift, delivered to you through more threads than you could ever count. When the Buddha redirected his student's attention, he wasn't withholding an answer. He was pointing to something his student had stopped seeing, that in the very moment of questioning, life was still happening, breath was moving, a heart was beating, the present moment was full. That quiet redirection, that is the teaching, not a correction, not a rebuke, just a gentle turning of the head, the way a mother might cup a child's face and tilt it toward the window where the light is actually coming from. The answers Malankya was chasing existed somewhere out beyond the horizon, but the arrow was in him now, and the forest was right here, and the surgeon's hands were already open. In the middle of your certainty that you are asking the right question is perhaps the most compassionate thing one person can do for another. And it is rarely dramatic. It doesn't arrive as a thunderclap or a revelation. More often it comes as a single, quiet conversation, a friend who simply says, "You haven't eaten today, come sit with me." Without argument, without philosophy, just the offered bowl, the open chair, the small insistence that the present moment deserves your presence. This story lands differently when you bring it into a modern life. Think about work. Does any of this actually matter? Did I make the right choice? Is there something I should have done instead? These questions are familiar. A lot of us carry them for years, sometimes for decades. There's nothing wrong with asking them. But when the only way you can face today is to first receive a satisfying answer to those questions, when you're waiting for meaning to be confirmed before you can fully show up, that is the monk refusing to let the arrow be removed. Meaning doesn't always announce itself clearly. Sometimes it only becomes visible in hindsight. Sometimes it never fully does. But the moment you release the condition, I need to know this means something before I give myself to it, the day in front of you can look a little different. The same is true in relationships. Why does this person act the way they do? What are they really thinking? What do they actually feel about me? The desire to understand another person is deeply human. But sometimes while we're lost in that searching, the person standing right in front of us becomes invisible. We stop seeing how they look today. We miss the small signs, the tiredness around their eyes, the thing they seem to want to say but haven't. The searching for hidden meaning can crowd out the seeing of what is present. And in times of illness, or grief, or aging, the weight of this story becomes something else entirely. Why is this happening to me? Did I do something to deserve this? When will it end? These are not questions to dismiss. They are honest, they come from pain. But I find myself wondering, if the answer arrived, if you finally knew the reason, would the pain itself ease? And if no answer came, would the pain deepen? Looking for the cause of suffering and learning how to live within suffering are two separate questions. The Buddha pointed toward the second one. And there is one more thing this story offers to modern life. We say my personality, my values, my way of seeing the world. But the way you speak carries traces of the household you grew up in. The things you love were shaped by people you met. Your sense of what matters was carved slowly by books, by losses, by moments of unexpected beauty. What you call yourself is really a living accumulation, layer after layer of connection and encounter. That isn't a diminishment, it's the opposite. It means that countless lives have made their home inside you. Someone's words, someone's steady presence, someone's grief. They are still here, in you, moving. Your life arrived that way, already woven together, already a gift. And the same will be true of what you leave behind. The patience you practice today, even imperfectly, may surface decades from now in a child who never knew where it came from. A moment of genuine attention, offered to someone in a difficult hour, can travel further than any explanation of why it was given. We rarely get to see how far the thread runs, but that is not a reason to hold back. It may be the deepest reason to continue. So, what might you do with all of this, starting today? Just one thing. That's all I want to offer. Tonight, before you fall asleep, take a few slow minutes to look back over the day, not to evaluate it, not to decide if it was good or bad, productive or wasted. Just, who were you with? What did you see? What did you feel? What did you eat? What kind of air did you breathe? It doesn't need to be remarkable. The color of the sky outside a train window on your commute. Something warm you ate at noon. A few words exchanged with someone, almost in passing. The simple fact of coming home at the end of the day, tired. Let yourself remember these things, gently and without rush. And if somewhere in that remembering, a quiet thought surfaces, I was alive today, let it land. Let it be true. In the Buddhist time, monks would go out each morning to collect food, eat what was offered, sit in the middle of the day, walk in the evening. Nothing dramatic, nothing spectacular. And through each of those ordinary moments, they practiced simply feeling what was there. The act of eating, the act of walking, the movement of breath. That was the foundation of everything. We don't carry alms bowls, but we can carry this same quality of attention. Tomorrow morning, when you rise, just once, for one moment, notice, my body moved today. I can't promise that this will transform your life, but something that was invisible may begin, slowly, to come into view. Receiving a gift doesn't begin with searching for it. It begins with noticing that it's already in your hands. A child doesn't decide, upon waking, to be grateful for the morning light. She simply turns toward it, because it's there, because it's warm. We were all that child once. Perhaps we still are, underneath everything we've learned since. And maybe that's enough, not to achieve some new state of being, but to remember what we never fully lost. A man I heard of once said that the most surprised he'd ever been in his life was the morning he realized he'd been breathing for 60 years without once stopping to feel it. He laughed when he said it, and then he was quiet for a long time. Among everything you passed today without a second thought, if one of those things had actually been a gift from someone, or something, what do you think it might have been? No need to answer quickly, just pause for a moment. Stay with the question. Maybe it was the stranger who held the door without looking back, already gone before you could say thank you. Or the rain that kept you inside, away from somewhere you didn't need to be. Even the long red light that made you late, and you never found out what it kept you from. The monk Thich Nhat Hanh once described washing dishes as receiving the dishes, not cleaning them. The same water, the same hands, but a completely different life. In a previous teaching, we explored how reflecting on death each day can quietly transform the way we receive life itself. Buddha never got the answers he came for. The Buddha never told him where the universe ends, or what waits on the other side of death. And yet he stayed. Why? I think it's because he received something else. Something he hadn't known he was missing. Not an answer, a return of attention. Here, now, there is life. Even in the middle of all the questioning, there is breath. There is aging. There are people arriving and people leaving. All of it already happening. That realization, quiet, unglamorous, undeniable, may have been closer to him and larger than knowing the shape of the cosmos could ever be. You've stayed with this story all the way to the end. That means today has been carrying you here, through everything it contained. That too is an accumulation, a result of more connections than you can name. Even without answers, even without certainty, the life is moving. It is here. And perhaps that is already the beginning of something. And somewhere a monk sitting by a river stops trying to count the current and simply lets the water pass his hands. Buddha grew old in the robes. He never did learn the shape of the cosmos, but he woke each morning and heard the birds, and that was enough to take the next step. And maybe that is all any of us are ever given, not the full map, but just enough light for the next footfall on the path. The birds did not explain themselves to him, they simply sang, and he simply listened, and in that small exchange, nothing was missing. Pause. Whose face came to mind while you were listening today? One story a day. In a week your words will change. In a month your eyes will change. In a year the same world will look completely different.